Oh, yes, folks. And I did warn you that we're coming on momentarily, so I'll just wait for a couple of people to get into the room so that we can start our sharing. This is going to be our 11th edition of Take Elections Seriously. So let's get a move on here, folks. Let's get a move on. Yep. And we're starting to get people in the room, so that's lovely. Here's Joy. Good afternoon. Welcome. As I alluded earlier, this is Take Elections Seriously, our 11th edition. And folks, as we ready ourselves to exercise our franchise, we must approach the political landscape with an open mind, for fear that the manipulators get through with their objective to manipulate the closed-minded and continue to rob you of your rights and privileges as enshrined in our national constitution. Our constitution clearly states the purposes for which we, the people, have created the institution called government. We have given it the responsibility to treat all people fairly. You heard what I said, all people fairly. Provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare and safeguard our freedoms. We have given our government a great deal of power to carry out these responsibilities. Now, when we are careless of the characters that we elect, we end up with insecure men and women running amok and usurping our powers and making the majority subservient to their dictates. As a people, we are all called upon to hold our elected representatives to account. They work for us and not the other way around. What can we do to make sure that our government fulfill its responsibilities? What responsibilities do we have to ourselves and to our government, for instance? We as citizens have the right to determine how our government uses its power. We have the responsibility to ensure that our government protects the rights of all people, not just their party supporters, and promotes the general welfare of all. To be effective citizens, we need to understand both responsibilities of government and the responsibilities of us citizens, and we should be able to make informed decisions about those responsibilities. We have a right to protest when our rights are violated, and they have been grossly since 1995. As Ella Wilcox Wheeler once said, to sin by silence when we should protest makes cowards out of men. The human race has climbed on protest, unquote. As a nation, we need to position ourselves for knowledge and skills, which will help us assume the responsibilities of citizenship in a meaningful democratic society, which we all have a responsibility to promote. We all have that responsibility to promote and to help ensure that our government fulfills the purposes for which we, the people, created it. Our vote, our active participation in elections create a government. And that is why they say a people get the government they deserve. So if you go nonchalantly and vote and you don't care, you will get a government to match that. If you take your time because you're tired of what obtains in Grenada from 1995 to now, this culture of chaos and lawlessness and the lack of vision, you will change that. We have to stop joining our oppressors to vilify and malign or even marginalize the one or two dissenting voices in our midst who take democracy seriously and are threats to the absolute power our elected members abrogate onto themselves to use against the masses. Only as open-minded people, only as open-minded people, we can allow good to prevail over evil. The unsuspecting masses will be able to understand and appreciate that there are one or two brave and enlightened citizens who are looking out for them and making attempts to save your rights from being totally eroded away by corrupt and self-seeking, generally unqualified, unsuitable individuals who offer and continue to offer themselves to elected office, and with your negligence succeed time and time again. Time to weed them out. Responsibility, for instance, is simply defined as a duty or obligation of a person to do something or to behave in a particular way. For example, a politician has a responsibility to work on behalf of all the people in his area and not just those who voted him or her into parliament. He or she must not be allowed to collect the taxes of all the people and direct the proceeds only in the direction of his or her supporters. That should not be tolerated. That is a recipe for fomentation of mass protest and chaos in any society. Folks, we have to take this thing seriously. Responsibility is also the duty or obligation of a person not to do something or not to behave in a particular way. For example, elected politicians have a responsibility not to steal out of the public purse when they're in office. Fulfilling responsibilities come with consequences, and of course, as well as rewards, which one must be prepared for. We sometimes have mixed feelings about responsibility and the burdens that it may impose on us. Yet, we take for granted that those around us will carry out theirs. Imagine what life would be at home, school, or on the job, or even in a community in general, if no one accepted or fulfilled their responsibilities. How would you feel, for example, if you had to fly in an airplane, but you could not be certain that the flight crew, maintenance personnel, and control tower operators had fulfilled their responsibilities to protect your safety? How would you feel living in a society governed by individuals whose main priority is to enrich themselves at the expense of the unsuspecting masses, as has been the case all too often during the period 95 to the present? How would you feel living in a society where the police, the judiciary, the church, the media, and every bastion of society have all been compromised? A society, for instance, where there is a small or no order and discipline, and where chaos prevails upon the people as a matter of course. Don't you know such a society? Responsibility may come from a variety of sources. They may develop as a result of our jobs, our schools, our laws, and our own moral principles. Some responsibilities may come from only one source, while others from two or more sources. There are 9 fundamental sources of responsibility. As I share them, think of responsibilities that you might have a similar source. Now, listen, in each case, ask yourself the following questions. Did I choose the responsibility freely? Was the responsibility imposed on me? Did I assume the responsibility without consciously thinking about doing so? Now, these 9 fundamental sources of responsibility are upbringing. And you and I know a lot of people in our authority today, spread throughout the private sector, public sector, throughout all spheres of society, lack upbringing, proper upbringing. How about promises? Oh, Jesus help you. They feel promises were made to be broken, or just as a comfort to a fool. How about assignment? How about appointment, occupation, law, custom, civic principles, moral principles? Folks, I trust that you are still not one who insists on saying it's a good thing I doesn't vote. So when the time comes, take elections seriously. Your vote is a vote to put Grenada on track with integrity, law, and order. I take my leave. Folks, I just remind you that edification comes tomorrow at 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. So spread the news, get ready to share the promo when it comes out, and let's line up because a lot has happened in the last few days from the last time I had my 112th edition of edification. And we're going to be really discussing some hot topics. So let's get a move on. And remember, take elections seriously. Your vote is a vote to put Grenada on track with integrity, law, and order. So thank you once again.